All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now it's time for us to get into our conversation for the night as we assess the state of preparedness of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, just 33 days to the August polls. And joining me in studio for this conversation is Commissioner Justus Nyang'aya. Thank you for creating time for us tonight.
Thank you very much, Serfine. All
right, so a good point to start perhaps is to look at the days that are left before the next polls, comparing that vis-a-vis the election calendar. Would you say you're on track as an electoral body?
Absolutely we are. It's just about 33 or 34? It's 33.
Yes.
Yes, we are on track. The only activity that we were dealing with before this was to do the nominations and then deal with disputes, and you can see that we have finished that. Now then the next phase of that is to do ballot proofing. In other words, we have now started printing the ballots. Everybody that we wanted in are in. And now that we have given our printers the authority to start printing. And that is the precursor to voting.
The big day, the 9th of August.
Yes, so I think we have done very well. And we are ahead of time. We are only now dealing with all these things about having conversations with our stakeholders, the political parties.
The political parties.
And we are enjoying the conversation.
It's good that you brought them in, and we are talking about the political parties in just a bit, and even the candidates in this election. But yeah, you're right. In this whole process, key major the stakeholders are, first of all, yourselves as the electoral body. We have the voters, and then we have those who are going to be vying for different elective positions and their parties.
Yes.
So let's begin by looking at how you have prepared the voters for this important day. What efforts have you put in place that you can affirm us tonight that the voters, in as far as the role of the IEBC is concerned, are well prepared for this election?
First, we have done several things, and let me just count on some of the activities that we have. We have 1,450 wards, and each of those wards we have 2 educators. And if you multiply 2 times 1,400, you will see that already there is work going on. The other thing that is going on is that we have 96 universities that have come together. We have brought them together so that we can train some of the students to be trainers. So they will be the trainers of trainers. And then now we'll be training everybody around on voter education. And then we have women groups. Then we have a lot of other organizations that we have accredited to be able to play a role in voter education. We have multiplicity of partners, of stakeholders that are working within this. But you also realize that as a commission, we also have not done very well in that area because the money that we had asked government to give us, the first tranche of that money was given early this year in February, in March. And so even as we were organizing for voter registration and all those activities, we did not have very much money, but also not very much money left for voter education. So we have therefore relied a lot more on our own mega resources, but we have also involved a lot of other stakeholders to play that role with us.
As we speak, Commissioner, tonight, do you still face that funding gap, or it has been addressed over time?
It has been addressed over time by some of the development partners who came, but came rather late in the day. Nonetheless, I think whatever they are doing right now is good enough.
So you can say you're adequately funded. Are you?
Yes, not adequately,
Yes and no?
because there are some money that is still left, but it is left on another activity, not necessarily the voter education funding activity.
All right.
Yes.
The cost of this election, from where you sit, ideally, how much was it supposed to cost?
It was supposed to cost about 40 billion Kenyan shillings.
40 billion?
Yes.
And that government did not provide that?
They provided 36.6 billion. Yeah.
So a shortage of 4
A shortage of about 4 billion. And 4 billion, when it plugs and goes somewhere, you can see it.
What justifies the numbers, Commissioner? Because as a country, we are ranked among the countries with the highest budgets of elections. Probably just to break it down for a Kenyan who could be asking, 40 billion
Yes.
for an election? I mean, what justifies?
Let me break it down
Yes,
for you,
yes.
Serfine. First, we have just recruited about 400,000 people as poll workers. And each station has 6 of them. And we have 46,233 stations. Multiply that by 6. Those are people that we are employing to ensure that election takes place. That is one of them. Secondly, each station only is capped at 700 voters. And we have 22 million people, 22,120,000 registered voters. You divide that by 700 and you will find that it is about that 46,000. Some of the countries don't really need those numbers in the stations. Some of the countries need about 1,000 per station, and we are doing 700. Some people need 3,000. So then the number of stations and centers are decreased in some of the countries that want to make it full, but we want to make it lean so that it is easier to deal with. And it is much more transparent to count 700 in the night rather than 3,000 or 5,000. The other thing is that we have deficit of trust in this country. We have to do certain things that everybody believes that this is indeed the right way to go. You have never heard that there is ballot stuffing in the last 3 elections, have you? You cannot, you will not. Because we print ballot papers. And we have about 8 securities. Each security costs money. On the ballot, one ballot.
Just one ballot paper has 8 securities.
8 securities. So that if anybody gets one and it tries to duplicate that, it will never happen. I can tell you right now that our ballots can never be reproduced because of those 8 securities.
But it comes with a cost.
That's what you're saying. And it comes with a cost. The presidential statutory papers, forms, you know, when the Supreme Court said, what is the result? And the result is the piece of form that has the scores that each presidential candidate has earned, and it is signed by the agents. You heard about that? Now that also has its own securities. Those securities cost money. We cannot print ballot papers here. They have to be printed by companies that have very high reputation for security printing.
All right, Commissioner.
That costs money.
All right.
Some people only have pebbles and papers as ballot papers and pebbles as ballots. But we have to go to that extent so that whenever we declare somebody as a winner, everybody thinks that anyway, this one was done well.
All right. As you say, I mean, going by what you say is the deficit of trust in this country, things have to be done the right way, and it comes at a cost.
It does, indeed.
All right, we'll get to the company and the processes later. The interest of fairness also, the other key stakeholder in this election is the politicians and the political parties. Also, what have you done to prepare them for this election in terms of what the Commission expects of them and what they should expect of the Commission?
First, we started by informing all the candidates what we were doing. And then after that, then we moved on to now the political parties. During the nomination period, and let them know this is what is required of you. This is how you need to approach our nomination. And this, if you don't have this could cause problems for you. There has been information that we have been giving out. Right now, we have started having a one-to-one conversation. Last week, you did report that we had 4 presidential candidates talking with us. We want to agree. We want to talk. You know, a house where people have a conversation will never divide, will never collapse. So we invited them and say, ladies and gentlemen, this is our country. This is what we are saying. What say thee? And they talked. And we said that as far as we are concerned, these are not our own creations of laws and regulations and acts, but this is what the law of the land requires of us to do. If you do have any difficulties, let's talk. And we are talking. As you can see, all the presidential candidates turned up. And the 4 of them were there. And the 4 of them were there. And you could see they were cordial to each other. In fact, that was a very good image to the country. That although there is all manner of harsh words being thrown around during rallies, we are still Kenyans. We are still people. We can sit down and talk. So you have had you have sustained dialogue between the political parties, their candidates, and yourselves as the Commission over time? Indeed, not as regularly as we will have wished. Okay. But we are having another conversation this week with one of the other presidential candidates, another one next week. We are talking. All right. But Commissioner, one of the presidential candidates was part of this crucial meeting that you talk about tonight. Today just threatened to boycott the elections if your commission does not stick to having a backup of a manual register of voters and the electronic one being used concurrently. Would you say that the meeting was successful? Oh, the meeting was absolutely successful, in my view. So why the threats a few days after that, in fact, it may not be a threat. I think it is a question of just saying what they want. And people are welcome to say that. But we, as a commission, and let me walk you through what we are saying. But I'm not going to say it in full details because this particular issue is in court. And we are regulated and guided by the courts and the judgments and judiciary. But what we were saying is this. We looked at the physical register, and we also looked at the digital register, and we said credible election is our responsibility. We need to deliver that. You cannot deliver it if there are certain gaps that people can use and use it badly. The other side or other people will say, this was not credible, and because we had actually been stung by the Supreme Court in 2017, nobody wants to go there anymore. We have learned the lessons that the Supreme Court had given to us. And on the 4th of August 2017, there was an appeal court decision that now we were using and saying the digital register is important. I think maybe we need to work with it because it is not prone to misuse. And we said that because what the presidential candidate of Azimio was saying, assure us that these kits are going to work. And in 2017, we had backup of 2.8 kits, and since we don't use those kind of fractions, let's say 3. 2022, we have backup of 6 per ward. The other one was 3 per ward. This time it is 6.
It's almost double.
It's almost double. And the law requires that we do registration using the BVR machine, the biometric machine. Identification requires that we use the KIMS kit, which we are using. Because you are registered using your biometrics, please come so that we can identify you with your biometrics. But in the physical register, you are not identified by your biometrics that we had taken. And we spent a lot of money on this. And this is a very unique identifier. And it brings up, because we have loaded the register of that particular station into the KIMS kit. If you do this, then all the people that were registered in that station, if it was one of you, then your name will come up. But if it is not, because we have also loaded the whole national register in this KIMS kit for alphanumeric. In other words,
I was about to ask you, what if the biometrics cannot be used in unique cases where you cannot use the biometrics to identify a voter?
Now, that is now a special area. You now produce your ID and you key it in, and it brings your face, your ID number, and your date of birth. It does bring that. And because that is the backup, one has to fill a form. It's called Form C. And that has to be signed by the presiding officer, a deputy presiding officer, and all the political parties here, saying that one person, this name, was identified through the ID.
All right.
And so now it brings up that, but you see what happens that in 2017, very few failed. We never even used the whole complement of the 3. But now we have 6, which is a huge number. And they have never failed us. The only time that KIMS, part of the KIMS kit that had failed or is the results transmission, which we are working on.
All right, we'll get to that in
But because the court is going to make a decision on this, maybe we will just wait until the court directs us further on what to be done. Right. And all these political party heads, they are people that respect the rule of law, and they will obviously go by what the court says. All
right. So just to clearly put the record straight, is the manual register ruled out completely in the coming election? It's not going to be used at all? As far
as we are concerned, if there's a requirement that we have it, and I think we as a commission are saying, what do we lose by just having the manual register there? Just in case everything fails, then we have to, as a commission, make a decision that, yes, now switch to a manual register.
But it's the last resort.
It is absolutely the last resort. Okay. And people have to take responsibility around that.
All right. So the other issue also has been around the procurement processes by the electoral body. Concerns have been raised about your choice of the company that was awarded the tender to print the ballot materials, LICOs, Inform LICOs. In fact, today, one of the stories we ran here is, your commission being, called upon to conduct investigations over allegations that this company is involved or in close relations with a prominent politician in this country. Do they hold any water, those claims? Have you received any formal complaint concerning these complaints being raised? And have you taken any action about this?
Serfine, if we were to take investigation into all manner of claims, we will not move away from this, because there have been court cases as well on this particular vendor, and some of those court cases were dismissed. And I think what we need to do, and this is what I think the commission, as a commission, we will do, is to tell them that, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you go and watch how all these papers are being printed? Why don't you also watch how they are being packed? Why don't you watch which particular planes, how they are being loaded into the planes and brought to Kenya? Why don't you watch how they are going to be loaded, offloaded from the planes and taken to our warehouse? Please stay with us and watch how each one of them, each packed and taken up to the station. Please watch with us, as Jesus had told his disciples. Please stay awake and watch with me. We are asking political parties, go to LICOs, there's nothing we are hiding, and stay there until everything is packed and brought to Kenya. Have your people here, come with them to our warehouse, walk with them to the counties, walk with them to the stations, and see that each one of them, as had been packed in Athens and Romania, will reach the final decision. Right. That way, it is better to assure the country.
If that was possible, then it
is possible.
Yeah,
it is possible. Yeah. And I, as a commissioner, and other commissioners, will back this.
But Commissioner, don't you think it's prudent to look at some of these concerns being raised by the stakeholders in this election, if the Commission is interested in, giving them that assurance that everything is flowing as planned or as it should be?
What better assurance will we give to people other than inviting people to watch as these things are happening? People will sleep easy.
So you're open to scrutiny?
Yes, absolutely. We are open to scrutiny, up to and including.
But have you received the official complaint? We've had it in the political rallies, but have you, as IEBC, received the official complaint from Azimio La Umoja One Kenya?
Not this particular one.
All right.
Yeah, and I think even if it came, we will be having conversation with Azimio.
All right.
And so that we talk and say, where is it that you are seeing the gap, and we can address that.
Okay, so we're almost running out of time for this conversation. I want you to talk more on the big day, what is expected. And before we get to that big day, just what have you done to safeguard the integrity of this election? Because that seems to be the elephant in the room. People are concerned about just having a free, fair and credible election. Just tell us, from where you sit as a commission, what have you done? How much investment have you put in place to guarantee Kenyans that we are not going to have a repeat of the disputed elections we have had in this country before?
We are not going to have a repeat of that. That one I will assure you. I think in 2017 there are certain things that we did, but the Supreme Court had pronounced itself on certain things. And those things, there were about 14 things. And we have addressed them adequately. The biggest thing that was there was the transmission. And the transmission, what we were doing was sending what is called a text. You take your KIMS kit and key in a text. So and so has scored this, so and so has scored this, and you send a text. This time is going to be different. We are sending an image, a picture. You see what had happened at that time, and the reason why the Supreme Court was saying, what is the result? The result is that physical paper. And that physical paper at the polling station, after all the presidential candidates have been counted, votes have been counted, it is written on this paper. And this paper, we take a picture
as it is,
and send to the national, to the constituency, and to the national tallying center. Then the presiding officer walks with the physical to our RO returning officer at Bomas. And they check what had arrived earlier, which is the image, against the physical. Are they still
the same?
The same.
The numbers are the same and everything is the same?
Yes. That is when we say, good. We are writing this down. Your own primary school, which one is it?
I can say that. Kimalel Primary School.
But now Kimalel.
Yes.
Now Kimalel Primary School station has sent, and now the score is this.
All right.
And so now you can see that there is no monkey business with the text. People thought that people could hack and change the text. But image now, you cannot change. Secondly, result announced at Kimalel Primary School is final.
It is not going to change anywhere between that polling station and the National Tallying Center?
No, it will not change, because we are asking the media to come and take a picture and a copy of that result at the polling station. All the polling stations, we have asked the media, and we have a memorandum of understanding with them, with the Media Council of Kenya and with Editors Guild, and we have political parties. We are telling them, just take the picture or a copy of that result, and go and tally it yourself.
All right.
And see if it's going to be the same as ours.
All right, thank you so much.
Now, what kind of credibility and openness is that? You tell me.
You ask the political players who, and even Kenyans who are having doubts about the whole process. But you have to wait until the 9th of August.
I am telling them to focus on this station.
All right.
That is where the result is. Pick it, tally it, and tell us if it is similar to us.
All right. I want you to quickly, as we bring this to a close, address the inclusion of all voters in this election. What have you learned in the previous elections when it comes to the inclusion of persons with disabilities? And what are you going to do different in this coming election? How is the environment going to look like? How is the process going to look like? Tailored to meet the unique needs of voters with disabilities.
Yes, voters with the disability, and some of them are physical. We are very sensitive to the use of how they can access our own stations. And one of them, if a station or a center has storied building, we cannot use first floor. We can only use ground floor. And if there are not enough, then we don't go up. We go with our tents and pitch them within the center so that the access will be easier. And then people that are a problem with sights as well, they can access our own centers, but it has to be well lit. And people that are carrying them, walking with them, can bring them and show them where to vote.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. There's still a lot that we need to hear from you as an electoral body, but I believe the next coming days we'll be having more engagements just so that we can get an assurance from your end that everything is going to flow smoothly.
But I hope that this one is assurance enough, but you can still invite me.
Thank you so
very much.
Commissioner Justus Nyang'aya from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Tonight we were focusing on the preparedness of the electoral body in terms of organizing the upcoming polls slated for the month of August this year. And that's how we put a cap on it right here on Prime Edition. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Lucy. Have a good night and God bless.